been a while. Yeah. It has been almost a year since my last UFC predictions video. I decided to take a break. And not just because of, what happened. Look at this. Okay. Anderson Silva, still a fan. Even though you lost, don't worry about it, man. Regardless of whether or not you come back to the sport, you have proven all that you need to prove. Same thing with you, Joseph Benavidez. And Dominic Cruz. Yeah. It is April 2014. Dominic Cruz, of course, is now no longer the champ. And there's no telling still of when he will be back. His knee injury just got worse and worse, and eventually he was stripped of the title. So, just, I can't help but feel bad for the guy. And Dana White says that he still could get a shot at the title, which now is held by Renan Barão, but that would be a terrible matchup for Cruz at this point. Anyway, before I jump into the card of UFC 172, Jon Jones versus Glover Teixeira, 2 days from now, this Saturday. Alright, pay-per-view, I'm ordering it on pay-per-view. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty good card. I at first was iffy on it, but I decided that, I haven't gotten a pay-per-view in a while since the Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman 2 card. By the way, congrats to Chris Weidman for doing it, for proving the naysayers wrong. Even though if both of your wins over Anderson Silva were a little... They were curious, and they were weird. The second one especially, I don't know how much of a validation that was for you. Anderson Silva just broke his leg in half. Or the shin, at least. But, anyway, I am getting ahead of myself right now. A lot of mixed martial arts stuff has happened in the past couple days. Jon Jones, the last time we saw him, back in 2011, he captured the title, and he has held it since then. I've almost done a video on nearly every one of his big title fights, except I didn't do one for when he fought Chael Sonnen and smashed him under one round, as you expect, as he should. But then he fought Alexander Gustafsson, and I didn't buy that pay-per-view, and I expected that fight to be, competitive, but I didn't expect for Alexander Gustafsson, the talented Swede, to be the first man ever to take Jon Jones down in that fight. This is kind of a heated matchup right now. I don't expect it to do gangbusters on pay-per-view. I expect that it's going to be that it's probably going to do Baltimore, Maryland. It's on a Saturday. It's in America, obviously. 400,000 pay-per-views, 500,000. I hope it does more than that. But let me just look at the numbers. Because regardless of the opponent that Jon Jones has faced, which in retrospect it does mean something, because Jon Jones, even though he's been a force for a long time in the UFC right now, he still technically has not lost. Even though he officially still has not lost. Even though, I've got to be honest, when he fought Alexander Gustafsson, I thought Alexander Gustafsson had done just enough to win that one by the decision. When I watched it again, then I could see how you could make the case that the way Jon Jones fought was very judge-friendly. The way he would just, lunge in and throw kicks, and he was chasing Gustafsson around the ring. Judges like it when you're the one going forward. But nevertheless, he still beat Chael Sonnen, Vitor Belfort, Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, Quentin Rampage Jackson, Shogun, Bader, Matyushenko, and Vera, all the way back to when I was still a young lad in college at UNCW. It's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's on a 10-fight winning streak, and his undefeated streak, Jon Jones, is not as long as Glover Teixeira's. Glover Teixeira, he is, let's talk about him. He's fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida. He trains at the Pit, an American top team in Black House MMA. He's been there with, I guess, Junior Dos Santos and Anderson Silva, but he's been at the Pit with guys like John Hackelman and Chuck Liddell, so he's been around this sport for kind of a while. He's also not the youngest of young pups. He's 34. He's originally from Brazil. He's a Mike Tyson fan. 22 wins, 13 by knockout, 6 by submission, and only 3 by decision. He's only had 2 losses, 1 by knockout and one of those is by decision. Yeah. His first loss was at the hands of Eric Schwartz and at a WEC 3, and his loss before that was to Ed Herman at SF9 Respect in March of 2005. So yeah, Teixeira, or Teixeira, however they're going to pronounce his name, has not lost since then. He's on a great roll. I'm glad he's getting his title shot, and I'm glad that they didn't just do an immediate rematch with Gustafsson and Jones yet. I'm not a huge fan of immediate rematches unless they're under a certain circumstance. Like, it made sense when Chris Weidman knocked out Anderson Silva after Anderson Silva was dancing all over the place and going crazy and losing his mind and not respecting anything Chris Weidman would do. Just the way that it ended, you want to see it again. Whereas there was a bit more controversy and murkiness around the Gustafsson fight. But anyway, Teixeira, he showed up at UFC 146, submitted Kyle Kingsbury, then he just beat down viciously Fabio Maldonado, then he beat Quentin Rampage Jackson, James DeHuna, and Ryan Bader. It feels like it's been a quick road for this guy to get to the title. His road wasn't as long as Alexander Gustafsson's or even Chael Sonnen. Like, even Chael Sonnen, even though that was more of a political move to give him the title shot, whatever. The UFC is really good at doing political things like that. He still has, a big padded record. He's got lots of fights. And Teixeira's only got about, 22 fights total. No, sorry, 24 fights total. Yeah. Okay. What do I think is going to happen in the main event? I am going to pick Jon Jones to win this one. Jon Jones needs to clean up his act a little bit, in my opinion. He could be a really popular guy. Fans just do not resonate with him. And his personality, he comes across, kind of a douchebag at times. Very pretentious. He goes out of the way to praise himself a lot. And, he buys really big trucks and stuff. And, he portrays a very clean-cut, nice guy, and then he'll go on Twitter and he'll blast someone. He'll say to Chuck Liddell that he'll fight him if he, comes out of retirement and all that. And there's let's see, I've got 411 Mania right now. Just I don't know. Jon Jones turned himself into a guy that's kind of easy to hate, but he does back it up with very good performances overall. A very big, strong, powerful wrestler with nasty striking, particularly from elbows on the feet. Very athletically gifted. Whereas Glover Teixeira is a very dangerous striker, of course, but he does end up getting hit solidly, like in every fight that he's in, even against Fabio Maldonado, that who hit him with an uppercut that wobbled him and had him slipping all over the place. For just briefly, Joe Rogan went crazy about it, but I don't think that he needed to. Glover Teixeira also got knocked down by Ryan Bader shortly before putting him away too. But this is Glover Teixeira's best bet to win this is to get Jon Jones on his back. If Glover Teixeira can't knock out Jon Jones easily, I see Teixeira fading the longer this fight goes, because John Jones's cardio is still quite good. He can still go on for long periods of time, and still have power and have those powerful, nasty submissions that he can pull out of nowhere. Teixeira's best bet, of course, is to get John Jones on his back, which is very difficult in doing, but Alexander Gustafsson was able to take John Jones down finally, and so on and so forth. But he's very dangerous from the top position, however, I don't think he's going to get that. I see John Jones out there lighting up Glover Teixeira with high kicks and elbows, as long as it takes him, to do enough damage to Glover Teixeira. And any point he decides he wants to get Teixeira out of there, I see him going for a double leg or a high crotch in wrestling, dragging him to the ground, and finding a way to submit him. If not, he's going to keep doing that until he wins a decision. But if there is a knockout, it's going to most likely be because Glover Teixeira is going to find a way to catch John Jones on the feet or on the ground. So that's my pick, John Jones to retain the title, and then after this he's probably going to have an immediate rematch with Gustafsson. Yes. Phil Davis won a very controversial decision over Lyoto Machida in Brazil. He himself even looked surprised after he won it. The third round was the only one that I would possibly give to to Davis, if I remember correctly. Yeah. It was either the third round or the second round. To think that he won that with just 2 takedown sequences and pounding, him with elbows at the end of the second round. It was maddening, but nevertheless, Phil Davis is in this position right now against Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson, overall, he kind of was a fighter with a lot of potential who never quite lived up to it in his early days in the UFC. He's been around since June 2007. He was cut, obviously, because he always has weight problems. I don't even know if he's going to make weight successfully tonight, and this is going to be at a light heavyweight. Got to be so. So let's just assume that he'll make weight. He probably won't, but yeah, he actually hasn't lost since he fought Vitor Belfort and got choked out by him. He's also he got choked out by Josh Koscheck. He lost to Kevin Burns due to an eye poke, and he also lost to Rich Clemente back at UFC 76. He's got knockout wins over Chad Reiner, Tom Spear. He knocked out Kevin Burns too. Luigi Fioravanti, Yoshiyuki Yoshida, Dan Hardy, Charlie Brenneman, and at World Series of Fighting he beat Andrei Arlovsky and DJ Linderman. Okay, Phil Davis is going to be the bigger, more powerful wrestler in this fight. And Phil Davis is okay when it comes to covering distances with those Superman punches and those lunging, awkward roundhouse kicks that he likes to use. And he's good at mixing that up enough. I also think that he's better on the ground. And while Anthony Johnson, he's a fine wrestler, his takedown defense is decent, I don't think it's going to be enough to stop a guy like Davis, who is a very high-level Penn State wrestling guy. He's probably going to find a way. I want to say that he'll submit Anthony Johnson, but I actually don't think it's going to happen. He might lace up a nice anaconda choke that he got Wagner Prado with and also got Gustafsson with. But I'm going to pick Phil Davis to win this one by decision, just because he's fought better competition more recently than Anthony Johnson. Simple as that. And Davis has shown that he actually does have a pretty good chin. Or at least he's taken the shots that he has up to this point and not gotten knocked out. His only loss is still to Rashad Evans. It should be to Machida, but that's just in my humble opinion. And he had the draw with Wagner Prado. Whatever. Okay. Next up, we've got Luke Rockhold and Tim Boetsch. Whew. Tim Boesch, he surprised everyone with his, he got submitted by Phil Davis, but he also, he beat Kendall Grove, Nick Ring, and then he had that really nice knockout victory over Yushin Okami at UFC 144. Really was an eye-opening upset right there. And then he beat Hector Lombard in a terrible fight to watch, just awful. But after that, he got knocked out by Costa Philippou at UFC 155, and then he lost to Mark Munoz at UFC 162. Since then, he did beat CB Dalloway, actually, at UFC 166. Yeah, that was on the preliminary card. That was the same card in which Cain Velasquez stopped Junior Dos Santos in their rubber match in the 5th round. In a really good heavyweight fight. Tim Boesch has kind of fallen on hard times right now. And he's a tough guy to pick against, He's the workman, grab your lunch pail and your hard hat, go to the gym, train, don't say much, don't look that excited. I'm gonna go in there, fight, go home. That's it. That's Tim Boesch. That's the type of guy he is. He certainly could find a way to stop Luke Rockhold right now, but all in all, Luke Rockhold is like the 9th ranked middleweight in the world by Sherdog for a reason. He's 33 mixed martial arts fights total. He's got 11 wins and only 2 losses. He had a knockout to a guy named Tony Rubancava at MOTM. Then he went on a great run at Strikeforce, beating Josh Neal, Nick Theokissis, Buck Burdith, Corey Delva, Jesse Taylor, Paul Bradley, Hinaldo Souza, Jacare, knocked out Keith Jardine and beat Tim Kennedy. And most of those were all first-round finishes, and of course his one first-round loss. But the Jacare fight went all 5 rounds. And then he showed up, and I picked him to beat Vitor Belfort, but like Vitor Belfort does whenever I pick against him, he usually finds a way to knock you out really quickly in the first round, and he caught Luke Rockhold with that spinning back kick. But he rebounded nicely with a win over Costa Philippou. I just see Luke Rockhold being the more complete fighter and the more calculated striker in this fight, in this matchup right here, and I also see him having the better conditioning than Tim Boesch. He's going to be a bit too much for him, so I'm going to pick Luke Rockhold by probably TKO 3rd round or or a 2nd round. And the lightweight fight on the card, just before that one, Jim Miller versus Yancy Medeiros. Jim Miller, he's basically a gatekeeper for the most part for the lightweight division. A very tough guy to finish usually, unless you're, Nate Diaz guillotine choking him, or Pat Healy on like marijuana metabolites. And this computer's taking a while. There isn't a whole lot that I admittedly know about Yancy Medeiros right now, so the safe bet really, I'm going to pick Jim Miller by submission round 1. And before that, Max Holloway versus Andre Fili. I'm going to pick Max Holloway by decision in that fight. And the rest of the preliminary card on Fox. And everything's freezing up here. Apologies still. I'm going to pick Joseph Benavidez. Ooh. I'm going to pick him to defeat Tim Elliott. Joseph Benavidez, man, you lost to Demetrius Johnson. You got knocked out badly, but I have a feeling you'll rebound nicely. That was a Mighty Mouse that we'd never seen before, really. That was brutal. But yeah, I'm going to pick Takanori Gomi to defeat Isaac Valley Flag, but you know what? Let me see something. Okay, yeah, Isaac Valley Flag. He beat Eve Edwards, and he is coming off a loss to Elias Silviero at the Rockhold versus Philippou card. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Takanori Gomi, who is miraculously still with the UFC. Pride never died, you know, that's what they say. I'm going to pick Yasmin Duke to defeat Beth Correa, and I'm going to pick Danny Castillo to defeat Charlie Brenneman. The same Charlie Brenneman who I'm also surprised is still in the UFC. Fighting at lightweight, too. And now on the preliminary card, I'm going to pick Patrick Williams to defeat Chris Beal. And that's all for now. It's going to be probably a decent card. Hopefully it's going to be some fun. After this, we've got the Brown versus Silva card. That looks that's going to be awesome. And then we've got the Henan Barrow versus TJ Dillashaw card. Let me just say this. If there was ever a UFC champion right now that I think is very underappreciated and doesn't get the respect that they deserve, as well as the recognition and the push that they need, and the marketing push, it's a guy like Henan Barrow. I want to talk about that later on. This guy, like Barrow, is a freak of nature fighter, and he's got my money for the next pay-per-view too. So I just hope he becomes a bigger star than he already is. It hurts him that he doesn't speak English, and that he, we know virtually nothing else about this guy except that he is, a friend and training partner of Jose Aldo. But I'll have more on that to say later on. Before I go, I want to dedicate this video to two individuals who I lost in February of this year. My grandfather passed away in his bed in Hawaii. I was there for it, and I'm going to put together a video of the memorable funeral where we had bagpipes and, people giving memorable words on his behalf. And also on the same day that we lost him, I lost a dear pet of mine, Gracie, due to cancer. She was a great, sweet little pug, but it was ultimately the right thing for us to do, and the best thing for us to do, to put her down. So, if there is an afterlife, maybe my grandfather needed a companion to walk along the beach with. So, it'll be good that they'll keep smiling that way. With that being said, if you have pets, tell them you love them. Make it a great day or else. This is Slugfest Wizard, signing off, and I'm back.